Okay, imagine this for a second. You hear that incredible, like, explosive roar of a Formula One engine. But the car, it's
Yeah.
running on absolutely zero fossil fuel.
Yeah.
None. It's all lab-grown synthetic stuff. And get this, the driver's actually being coached, like in real time by an AI co-pilot,
Yeah.
optimizing everything.
Yeah, is that science fiction? Or is that actually the F1 we're going to be watching come 2030? You're listening to The Deep Dive, and today, yeah, we're going to unpack the official F1 Vision 2030 roadmap. We're taking the shortcut.
Right. And our mission today, it's pretty straightforward. We want to give you the kind of insight that, honestly, very few people outside the F1 paddock really have right now. You'll walk away understanding exactly how the sport plans to transform. We're talking sustainable, digitally immersive, globally inclusive. It's huge. This isn't just a minor tweak. It's like a blueprint for the sport's actual survival.
And that survival piece is key. Because F1, it's the absolute pinnacle of automotive engineering, but it's facing some serious existential challenges. We're talking massive environmental concerns, costs that were just, well, spiraling completely out of control. So our sources show this really comprehensive strategy. It's built on 6 core pillars, all interconnected: sustainability, tech, regulations, global expansion, fan engagement, and importantly, diversity.
Okay, 6 pillars. That's a lot to take in. Let's maybe use an analogy here because the scale of this change is just enormous. For decades, F1 engine development felt a bit like, I don't know, trying to build a supercomputer with totally custom parts costing $1 billion obsolete in 6 months. The Vision 2030 idea, it feels like shifting from that kind of brute force complexity towards something more elegant. Sustainable efficiency. It's about being smarter, maybe not just faster.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. The goal isn't to stifle innovation, not at all. It's to direct it. Yes, the roadmap is definitely driven by cutting-edge technology, but it's the innovative regulations, things like the budget cap they're forcing, parity, long-term viability. They're the real accelerators here. Without this kind of shift, honestly, the complexity and the cost, it would eventually just break the whole system. You'd end up with only 2 or 3 teams even able to compete.
Okay, so if we're talking about such a fundamental systemic change, we really have to start with the biggest shift, right? Let's dive straight into Insight 1. The sustainability revolution.
Right. The absolute cornerstone, the heart of the 2030 sustainable powertrains, is this move to 100% synthetic e-fuels. And that's combined with much more advanced hybrid systems.
Oh.
This is way more than just swapping out the petrol tank. These are fuels literally grown in a lab. They actually absorb more CO2 during production than they emit when burned. So effectively carbon neutral right at the source.
Wow. And what's really fascinating there, and something I think people might miss, is that this race to net zero, it covers the entire F1 ecosystem, not just the car on track. The sources really emphasize getting to carbon-neutral operations. That means factories, supply chains, all the global logistics, every single touring component. It's a massive overhaul of how they move around the world.
Absolutely. I mean, just think about the logistics nightmare. Shipping 20 cars, thousands of parts, tons of equipment globally, basically every 2 weeks. So to tackle that, F1's implementing what they call a circular economy approach, a really robust one. This means full recycling and reuse of really complex parts, power units, chassis materials, even pit gear. Plus, there's a global carbon offset program, standardizing electric support vehicles, aiming for completely zero-emission paddocks.
That sounds, it sounds revolutionary, but let's be a bit critical. What's the biggest hurdle there?
Yeah.
Logistically, getting those high-octane e-fuels reliably to circuits all over the globe, especially brand new ones in emerging markets, that sounds like a huge engineering challenge in itself.
Oh, absolutely is. And that's why the e-fuel part has to be paired with major operational changes. It really comes down to standardizing that supply chain globally, using maybe high-density, centralized hubs for production, and crucially, proving that these synthetic fuels can actually be scaled up safely and reliably. It's an enormous challenge, no doubt. But if F1 pulls this off, if they prove they can run this global circus carbon neutrally, think about the implications for, say, commercial aviation or global shipping. It's staggering.
Okay, right. So sustainability is driving the fuel.
Yeah.
But the car itself, the chassis, the performance, that's still being pushed by pure tech, isn't it? Which brings us nicely to Insight 2, next-gen engineering, and this AI co-pilot idea.
Absolutely. We're looking at what they're calling the Gen 3 architecture for the car. It's going to be dramatically lighter, relying on really advanced composite materials, and also a big increase in 3D printed components. The advantage isn't just weight saving, though. It's also about rapid iteration, manufacturing flexibility. You can reduce waste compared to those huge traditional manufacturing plants.
Yeah, that makes sense. But the bit that really sounds like science fiction is integrating tech directly into the driver's actual process. This onboard AI assistant. I mean, that's way beyond just getting strategy calls on the radio, right? This is like an actual co-pilot.
It is. It's using machine learning, predictive modeling. The AI guides the driver on really crucial, subtle things that, even the best human instincts might miss sometimes. We're talking real-time tire management, knowing exactly when that performance cliff is coming, and constantly calculating the optimal overtaking windows based on live telemetry from competitors. It essentially gives the driver a level of tactical awareness that was just impossible before.
Okay, here's a question on that, though. Structure-wise, if the car is using lighter materials, these new composites, 3D printed parts, how do they make sure these complex smart materials are still safe?
Right.
That they can withstand the insane forces, the potential crashes.
Right, good question. That's where safety engineering shifts from being reactive to being predictive. We're seeing the evolution of the Halo system integrating more sensors and constant predictive crash modeling running on the live telemetry. So the car is basically monitoring its own structural integrity continuously. And if you connect that back to the machine learning for strategy, safety measures could even be deployed based on an anticipated failure, not just after something's already happened.
Okay, wow. Predictive safety. So we've got smart fuels, predictive smart cars. But historically in F1, money tends to solve technology problems. How does F1 realistically keep things competitive, keep parity between teams without just stalling all this amazing innovation? Which I guess brings us to Insight 3. Parity, transparency, and maybe even fan empowerment.
Yeah, the foundation for parity is the continued and tightening budget cap evolution. That's key. The regulatory bodies are constantly adjusting it, refining it, to keep that playing field as level as possible. But crucially, they balance that constraint with specific, targeted innovation windows and some technical freeze periods. This forces teams to spend their limited cash, not just, throwing money at every problem, but finding genuinely creative solutions, especially in those mandated areas like sustainable materials or AI.
And the whole regulatory process itself is getting a digital makeover for transparency too, right? Moving towards digital flag-to-flag governance. What does that actually mean? Like less reliance on human stewards debating incidents for hours?
Exactly that. Think virtual safety cars managed by a centralized AI. Think data-driven penalty decisions based on totally irrefutable telemetry. Imagine how much time that saves and how many controversial refereeing calls could be eliminated if the system instantly applies penalties based on objective, data-backed metrics. It takes away a lot of that subjectivity that, let's be honest, drives fans absolutely crazy sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And that instant transparency, that feeds right into another huge pillar, which is fan engagement. It's not just about watching the race anymore, is it? F1's planning really deep integration into like VR and metaverse environments, letting fans virtually jump into the cockpit or the pit wall, maybe even get a drone's eye view. That immersive experience seems key.
It is. And here's maybe the most novel detail, kind of a hidden bonus we found tucked away in the sources, that really speaks to ultimate transparency. Get this. Fan participation in rule consultation via blockchain voting.
Wait, what? Fans voting on actual regulations? How on earth would that work in practice?
Well, blockchain is the tech that potentially makes it viable. It allows F1 to ensure the voting is secure, verified. So you log on, prove you're a genuine, authenticated fan somehow, and then you vote on a future rule proposal. It's immutable. It's transparently recorded on the blockchain. It's kind of the ultimate example of rulemaking transparency, isn't it? Giving the audience a real, direct stake in where the sport is heading.
That's actually pretty radical. Okay, so if we just zoom out for a second and connect these dots, the tighter budget cap from Insight 3 is basically forcing teams to innovate cleverly in areas like sustainable materials from Insight 1 and the smart tech like AI from Insight 2. The money limit forces creativity.
Exactly. And as the sport gets smarter, greener, more efficient, it also dramatically lowers the barrier to entry for new venues, new partners, which lets F1 pursue its planned global expansion into new, emerging, diverse markets by 2030.
Right, and that global reach is targeting places that reflect this new digital tech-focused direction for the sport. The sources specifically mention plans for new street circuits in places like Shenzhen, Bengaluru, even Nairobi. And these aren't just tracks plopped down anywhere. They're being designed with sustainable principles, modular grandstands, solar power infrastructure, that kind of thing.
And that investment in global reach mirrors the investment in global talent. On the driver's side, that diversity tiller is getting a boost from advanced training methods too. We're seeing the use of digital twins. And this isn't just a basic VR rig, it's super high fidelity, comprehensive virtual models of the car, the track, the weather, everything. It lets simulation engineers replicate literally every variable for really rigorous, scalable training.
So it makes that kind of elite-level training potentially accessible, regardless of where a talented driver happens to come from. And that accessibility, you're saying, is paired with a real push for diversity and inclusion. Scholarship programs, accelerating female talent, underrepresented groups, making that path from the F1 Academy into the main F1 grid a genuine, viable pipeline.
That's absolutely integral to the vision. It's all connected. Honestly, it's not just a plan for F1's future. It feels more like a blueprint for attempting something almost impossibly ambitious, fundamentally redesigning the entire business model of a top-tier global sport in less than a decade.
Okay, let's try and recap this incredible vision one last time then. It's a lot. The F1 2030 vision basically rests on 6 pillars. Sustainable power, mainly through 100% e-fuels. AI integration in the car, in design. Regulatory parity, budget caps. Digital governance for transparency. Then there's global expansion, new tech hubs like Nairobi, Bengaluru. Really immersive fan experiences using VR, metaverse. And finally, that focused diversity and driver development, using things like digital twins. Phew.
Nailed it. And as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe just consider the broader impact, the ripple effect. If Formula One, the absolute peak of high-speed, high-stress engineering can actually master the production and logistics of 100% synthetic e-fuels and achieve truly carbon-neutral logistics across this massive global operation, what does that ultimately mean for the rest of the commercial transport world? Could lab-grown fuel genuinely solve, say, global shipping's huge carbon problem? Something to think about.
That is the big question, isn't it? Every insight definitely gets deeper on the second listen, so make sure you save this deep dive in your library. You might want to hear that bit about blockchain fan voting again.
Absolutely. And next time, we're going even deeper specifically into the core technology that kind of underpins this whole vision. Synthetic e-fuels 101. We'll break down exactly how they're made, the chemistry involved, why they matter so much, and tackle the question. Could your daily driver realistically be running on lab-grown fuel sooner than you might think? You really won't want to miss that engineering breakdown.